Nick, what's up?
Let me get on here. What's up, man? How are you?
Doing good. You?
Doing good, brother. It's good to finally actually get to chat with you.
Yeah, I know. Like we've been talking online for like ever at this point. I don't even know how long.
Heck
So
yeah,
it's
man.
cool to like actually meet you. It's sick.
Yeah, dude. Dude, it's crazy, man. I was actually looking at some of your stats whenever I was like getting questions and stuff for this like for the video. It's nuts how consistent you are at cEDH. Like it's crazy. I was looking at your record and then I was looking at like just other Atraxa lists that were doing good. And like literally in the last 3 months, there's really not. Like there's a couple other ones that have top 16, but like if you if you go just off of 60 plus players, you've got like a second place finish and an eighth. And then if you go off 32, you have a first place and another second place. I think the closest one after that was like there was two 12s, a 13th place, and then after that it's like in the 20s, 30s, like it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a weird deck. I think people try and play it focused around Atraxa a little bit too much.
Hmm.
Um, like if you tunnel vision on just the commander and getting it out as fast as possible,
Hmm.
like you might as well just play like a Wheel of Fortune, you know? And a Wheel of Fortune type effect for 7 mana isn't necessarily good. How you win with the deck is you have to set up lots and lots of mana and achieve a board state where you can repeatedly trigger Atraxa and kind of use it as a replacement ad nause almost.
I got you.
Instead of thinking of it as a commander, it's like a hard to counter late game ad nause in the command zone.
Okay. Well, that was something I noticed with your list. And if you want to, man, like we can actually dive into the list if you're good with that.
Yeah, sure. Whatever direction you want to take it, I'm happy to rock and roll.
Like so obviously you were playing in the Salt City like cEDH convention, which was the 131 player event, which that was
Mhm.
also the same event, right? Where like the last finals went to like 11 hours.
Yes, it was. Good couple of good friends of mine in that final spot.
But, but yeah, so your list, so you ended up doing eighth place, which is like, dude, that's crazy for a 131 player event.
Just
But
not too
here.
bad.
Perfect. Okay. Awesome, man. I was trying to get your thing pulled up. But no, man, I was going through the list and obviously like there's still some Atraxa tech that like hasn't changed, which is cool. But I did notice like you're not on a lot of you're not on a lot of clones. Like you're just on like the Mockingbird Femage package, and then you've got like Clever Impersonator, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But so I heard you say like at the start of it, you're thinking so you treat it more like ad nause in the zone, like just a finisher. You're not using it throughout the game. Like you're not trying to like turbo out Atraxa.
No, no. I'd honestly say half of my games I don't even cast it. I'm trying to do Sans Red mid range. That's what the list is trying its best to do. So you'll notice stuff like a big one, a big indicator that is like Clever Impersonator.
Hmm.
I'm trying to get Ristic Study, and I'm trying to get Ristic Study, and I really, really want Ristic Study, or anything that draws me cards. Like I'm trying to one, draw cards, two, develop a board state, three, close the game.
Heck yeah, man. Oh, this list is super sick. I do love, obviously. I saw the Zur include.
I actually added that the night before the 10K.
Uh-huh.
I'd been sitting at work. It was a really slow day, and I'm like, hmm, I don't like Talion very much.
Hmm.
What can I replace Talion with? And I'm just like flipping through, like, what are some 4 mana legendary creatures? Oh, yeah, there's this one that I really, really like and used to play a ton of. And I decided to include it because one, the reason I used to play it in Command Zone, it gets Ristic Study and Mystic Remora. Two, on the turn it attacks, you can move to combat and find food chain with it for free, uncounterably, and sack Zur to it immediately. That's +8 mana for
Oh.
0, which is sick. So you get free food chain and then essentially get to cast Atraxa for 3 mana. and then you're off to the races because Food Chain's an engine that lets you storm off and loop cast Atraxa even without the cast from exile creature. So it's kind of a second Food Chain / one card win con.
Now, did you have that come up in the tournament at all?
I in my finals game, or not my finals game, my semifinals game, it I did play it. That's the only round I played it in. It got me a Ristic Study, then a Mystic Remora, and then if I untapped, I was using it to find a Food Chain and close the game.
Mhm.
Um, the reason I didn't earlier is because interaction at the table was just too high.
Mhm.
But the farm player in first seat was able to kind of get out ahead of it all and
Mhm.
still close the game, which was super cool to watch. It was a really good game.
Nice, man. Heck yeah, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anytime I see Zer in a list, obviously like that. So, which that probably adds a little bit of context for people, but we actually met because of Zer, because
Yeah.
I saw where you were like, it's pretty crazy how many lists you were like, you're really, really flexible with like just a lot of different lists. You've topped with a lot of different things. Like, I remember, I think at the time that I had started actually like reaching out to you, you had like 3 or 4 tops with Zer and like big events. You'd had like I know like Arkham, Dagson, and I know you were playing Elsha at the time. Like you were playing all sorts of crazy
Yeah.
stuff, man. And so
Yep.
I was like going through your list, and I actually tried out a few of the Zer lists, and I ended up settling on making my list more like yours. And then I don't know why, but I was almost nervous to reach out to you whenever I first like started using the list that way because I was like, man, this guy's really good. Like, I don't, I want to reach out and obviously ask questions, but I was nervous because I was brand new to cEDH too. Like, I'd been playing some, but just never like tournament play, anything like that.
hmm
And I was like, oh, you know what, screw it, I'm just gonna ask. And you were like super chill about everything. Like any questions I had, you were like, yeah, man, this, like answering all the questions. And then also your deck has a huge primer to it, so that made everything like super, super nice.
I need to get back in the habit of writing primers. Like when I was learning the format,
Hmm.
whenever I'd pick up a deck, I'd start writing a primer for the deck I'd pick up because I found it to be a really good way to teach myself how to play,
Hmm.
which ended up turning into the two Ristics deck and how we met.
Heck yeah. Which I looked at your primer for this one.
It's so good. Very detailed.
Heck yeah, dude. No. Is
uh,
there is there anything like in the deck specifically that you want to talk about? Like any tech or any pieces that you threw in that like really came in handy like during the tournament?
sure, yeah. My my favorite line in the deck is a little bit of a sneaky one. It comes through the Kinnan package.
Hmm.
It's becoming a little bit more popular with more Kinnan decks, like the Freedom Waffle Kinnan decks running around that have all sorts of copy enchantment stuff.
Hmm.
But Kinnan plus Fairy Mastermind plus Smothering Tithe is draw everybody out at instant speed.
Oh.
Um, and it makes lots and lots and lots of mana. So that chunk of tech is kind of easy to assemble in a way because you're playing around Smothering Tithe and Kinnan already.
Hmm.
So it's an easy instant speed line you can kind of pivot to, which is cool. Um, Another thing I've really liked, I'm kind of on the fence about it, is
Hmm.
Bright Glass Gear Hulk.
Hmm.
Kind of sets up a one card win con line through Nature's Rhythm. I've only played it in one game, but I liked it the game I played it in. If
Hmm.
you Nature's Rhythm for Bright Glass Gear Hulk, you can, with 4 green mana, harmonize Nature's Rhythm from your graveyard to find Displacer Kitten, and Displacer Kitten plus Bright Glass Gear Hulk gets every single mana positive rock out of your deck, which lets you
Hmm.
cast Atraxa, and that gets you Atraxa plus Displacer Kitten, which says every spell you cast draws you 10 cards. So you win.
Dude, that's insane. That's really, really cool.
That one's from that's from one of the guys over the Atraxa Discord. I stole that from him, but it's been good for me so far.
Heck yeah, dude. I did notice, so like because I looked over your list for a bit and I was trying to see if there was anything that did stand out. I noticed that you weren't on like Dranith in the list, or at least if I just
Hmm.
maybe missed it. But what was the reason for that?
So I've been through lots of iterations of this list. I've had
Mhm.
Drannith in, I've had Drannith out, I've had Gilded Drake in, I've had Gilded Drake out. I've even tried like Blind Obedience to try and
Mhm.
slow their decks down, but Atraxa's main weakness, since you don't have a consistent early game kapow in the command zone that you always get to,
Mhm.
you're essentially playing a no commander deck.
Mhm.
So you have to be able to get off the ground consistently.
Mhm.
S- Cards in the deck that only have a purpose of slowing other people down and don't really get you any bonus kind of kneecap your mulligans in your early turns.
Mhm.
So I noticed that when I was playing Drannith and I was playing Gilded Drake and I was playing stuff like that, I would get off the ground considerably slower and I was much less consistent. So I cut them for cards that made me get off the ground a little easier.
Mhm.
Stuff like Mockingbird, the Fairy Mastermind went in for a slot like that. Fimage makes it more consistent when you're storming off with Atraxa
Mhm.
and can kind of fix you early on, like on a low mole, you can copy an Esper Sentinel or someone else's Dork to get yourself in the game. Also copies Bowmasters or Grand Abolisher, all sorts of cool stuff like that.
Nice, man.
And you're just more flexible in the early to mid game instead of drawing a Drannith that like doesn't do anything specifically for you directly, which is what the
Mhm.
deck really needs in those turns.
I got you. That's cool, man. Well, I know you said so. You did say early on too that you're really, really, really trying to find Ristic in this. So like, if I'm like, how low are you willing to go in a as far as like, are you willing to mulligan pretty aggressive with this list?
Oh
Or
yeah, 100%.
really?
I last Friday I won a game on a multi three because I was just digging for a card engine. Like once if you get the cards, the everything else will come. I
Mhm.
personally believe that's kind of the answer to cEDH. If you have a way to draw lots of cards,
Mhm.
your deck has all of the other answers in it. It has mana, it has tutors, it has win cons. So if you can draw cards, everything else is solved. That's kind of my deck building and mulligan philosophy.
I got you, man. So that's actually really interesting now that you say that because I just had a discussion with somebody the other day,
Mm-hmm.
and I said that I felt like Ristic Study was pretty much like the most powerful card in the format, and they like
100% agree.
okay, and they disagree with it. They said that they didn't even think it was the most powerful blue card, which I thought was interesting, and I can't remember what their answer was. I wish I could, but like I've kind of felt the same way where people will be like, "Oh, well, it doesn't win you the game," and it's like it doesn't win you the game, but like it wins you the game. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no, it absolutely wins you the game. Like I can, especially in very, very mid-range pods,
mhm,
I can have a console in my hand and a way to get blue, blue, black on turn two. I will tutor for a six study.
that's pretty funny. Yeah, heck yeah, dude. So how have I know like I was looking. Do you know who Eric Taylor is? He plays like Corvold a lot.
He's the oh, what's his thing? He's is he the Lemorris cards guy
Yeah,
or
he's
is
the
yeah.
Matt. Yeah, Matthew is the guy that like normally does like the videos on Lemore's cards, and then Eric
Hmm.
is normally the guy that's like on the podcast and stuff with him when they do the breakdown.
Mm,
But
gotcha. Yeah.
I saw a video the other day where he was talking about just like certain cards in the format right now, and
Yeah.
he's talking about how a lot of people are like not that like people are coming off of the Wondering. How has that felt for you, or like do you think that that's a like how do you feel about that?
I've personally, it depends on the deck you're on, right? Like
Mhm.
in an archetype like this,
Mhm.
where you are bleeding to get to the mid to late game,
Mhm.
cards like the One Ring are essential because it's just one more way you can outdraw the table and get more resources. However, in really, really fast decks, like maybe Rogsai, for example, like the prime example, I could see an argument for cutting it because why would you keep a hand that gets one ring out when you can keep a hand that gets a Necrodominance, Necropotence, Ad Nauseum? Like if you're trying to go fast,
Mhm.
I can see an argument for cutting it because it's not as efficient or easy to get down as Ristic Study. And the decks that are trying to go fast can often get into something more explosive, which is better for their game plan. So I
Okay,
can see cutting it in those decks, but not in one like this.
I got you. Now, is there a reason like Is that kind of the same reason why you're not on like ad nauseum and like necropotence and stuff, just because you're trying to grind so late into the game?
Exactly, yeah. I've the other reason is cards like Ad Nauseam and Necropotence ask you to convert with them immediately.
Mm,
So if I have 5 mana and an Ad Nauseam in my hand and I shove it, especially on main phase, I have to convert right there or I lose. Without Underworld Breach, it's extremely difficult to do.
hmm.
Underworld Breach with those like Suicide Life Bargain based cards
Yeah.
where you pay all of your life total for a giant chunk of cards. Having Underworld Breach allows you to overcome the mana problem
Hmm.
because once you get Breach out, you can recycle your cards and mana is no longer an issue. However, if you can't do that and you don't have access to Breach, cards like Ad Nauseam and Necropotence are much, much harder. Xur solves that problem because you either draw your whole deck with it or you have all of your mana untapped.
Hmm.
But in a deck like this, I don't really have the luxury of slam Adnaz and draw a bunch of cards with a bunch of mana open
Hmm.
until it's super, super late game and it's really easy to counter or my life total is really low. So since I don't have Breach in my deck and I don't have an easy way to cheat out those cards or make them
Hmm.
broken, I don't play them.
I got you, man. Oh, that makes a lot of sense too. I have found that, which again, I'm not in tournament play anywhere near as consistent as you are, and then also like you're consistently getting to just top cuts and like doing like converting very well, like whenever you're actually in tournament play. But I have kind of found the same thing. Like if I like try to force that game plan, I find that it always just somehow bites me in the hind end. Like not having access to, like you said, like breach or red, things like that to like take an extra turn right then, I always end up getting choked up on mana or like something happens to where I'm just not able to convert. So it's like you said, like with Zer, I a lot of times, man, I've just been, I mean, it's two Ristics for a reason. I'm just swinging and going and getting the Ristic and then
Yeah.
swinging again and going and getting a second Ristic.
Oh man, I miss that deck. That deck's a lot of fun.
I feel like I'd really just want to pick your brain if you're cool with it. Like, obviously, like I
Yeah,
appreciate you being
please go
willing to
for it.
go through the list and stuff. But like, what do you feel like makes like what are the things that people should be focusing on if they're wanting to get really really good at CEDH and like converting the way that you're converting, like having consistent showings at these events, or even in just like your normal like smaller event play, like consistently getting like top cuts, like what do you think helps make you such a good like CDH player? Obviously the repetitions are definitely going to help, but just besides that.
Like specific qualities, I look out for in a really solid CEDH player is from a gameplay standpoint alone, you want to know your deck very, very well. You want to know every single line in that deck
Mhm.
because in cEDH, windows are few and far between, and you have to know how to take advantage of each of them. So even if you have big, crazy, drawn out, shot in the dark lines, you need to know them because that can be the difference between your winning in game and top 16.
Mhm.
So that's that's one big thing. On the social side of it, you have to be very good at politics.
Mhm.
A lot of people think you have to argue with every decision people make, try and directly influence what your opponents are doing for your benefit.
Mhm.
I kind of have found the opposite to be successful. If you can gently nudge your opponents into making small decisions that benefit you,
Mhm.
you'll get a lot further because people will continue to listen to you. Um, Outside of that, know your opponent's decks. Like if you know what you're up against, you know how to mulligan, you know where your windows are, you know how they're trying to win and how you can stop them. Like the more informed you are about both your deck and your opponent's deck, the more success you'll have. Um, and if you want to get good at like actual mechanics of Magic the Gathering, play 60 card.
Play
That is a
64.
yeah. Pick up. I picked up Popper, and it helped so much with just like the way I manage my play,
Hmm.
it makes you a much more efficient player.
Okay.
Yeah,
When you say a more efficient player, like, do you care to like elaborate on that? Like, what do you mean specifically when you say that?
sure. Yeah. I think an efficient player is you managing your mana correctly. You know when to go for your lines. I mean, I know I'm reiterating that over and over and over again. Like you know when to push, when to pull back.
Hmm.
It Since you're taking the politics end completely out of it with 60 card,
Hmm.
you can develop your gameplay considerably faster, if that makes sense. You're only focusing on one thing.
Hmm. Okay, that's super interesting. I've heard some people have the opposite take of like 60 card play can almost hurt your ability to do well in cEDH. But that's interesting because then, like, just the same thing I was talking about earlier, but I was watching the video with Eric and he was talking about how a lot of these guys are switching over from that 60 card format to cEDH and are actually doing like really, really well. So, I mean, that's super fascinating. I was never into the 60 card format. Like, I came directly from playing like Yu-Gi-Oh competitively, and I was a judge in Yu-Gi-Oh. So like I would go and judge tournaments and stuff. And then
Mhm.
my buddies like all abandoned ship. They all jumped into Commander, and they were like, "Hey man, you should come and play this." And I was like, "Okay, sure, why not?" So I just like I fully jumped ship, came into Commander, and immediately like I was like, "Okay, what can I play?" And I found Zur immediately, which I know obviously we're talking about Atraxa, and I keep bringing up Zur, but dude, it was
You
just.
know, hey, that's a sick way to get into it. Just that's how I got into it. I just had a bunch of friends like, "Hey, you're trying this," and I said, "No, I'm not." And then they said, "No, you're trying this," so I did. Um,
Now, your play group, you have like a lot of really, really good players in it too, though, don't you?
yeah, that's another big thing. Like, if you want to improve, play with people that are better than you.
Hmm.
Um, I My cEDH scene, I got really, really lucky. I've got a whole bunch of people that are up on the leaderboard. I learned cEDH playing against Grant Eklund. I don't know if you know who that is. He's one of
Yeah.
the top blue farm players in the country.
Yep.
There's Austin Palmer, who top 16 to the Invitational last year.
Hmm.
Those are two big names, and I consistently play with people like that you have to be not only your best politically, but you have to play perfectly efficiently or you get punished and lose.
I got you, man. Do you feel like, as far as like Atraxa and all this stuff, because I know for a while there you were playing Blue Farm. Um, do you have you found that like has it been easier for you or harder for you to win now that you're on Atraxa? Like, do you feel like when you were on Blue Farm, people would tend to like focus in on you, or do you feel like now that you're on Atraxa, like people are focused in on you more because you're playing a commander that's not necessarily popping up as much, or are they just kind of like, oh, it's just Atraxa and they like leave you alone?
Well, sometimes in the local scene, it's a little bit different because I'm a known player and I typically just get threat assessed no matter what I'm playing. But um, comparing Blue Farm to Atraxa in a vacuum,
Mhm.
I'm more successful on Atraxa for a very silly reason, I think. I mean, I could be wrong, but this is my own introspection.
Mhm.
On Blue Farm is a stronger deck. It's a much more consistent deck, and you can, coming from playing Blue Farm, like if you know your lines and you're good at breach math, you can win literally whenever you want. You can present a win attempt. If it's post turn three, you can win literally whenever you want. That's Blue
Yeah.
Farm.
Yeah.
So it teaches you to pick your windows really well. However, I, coming from control and mid range, am that's one of my weak points.
Mm.
I'm bad at picking windows. Blue Farm, since your main combo, Underworld Breach, is all non-creature spells, you have to be very good at picking a window or very good at sneaking a Grand Abolisher through.
Mm.
I, when I play Blue Farm, like to just jam and jam and jam and jam and jam, and I get stopped over and over and over and over again.
Mhm.
Blue Farm's really resilient, so yes, you still get there a lot. I still had a couple top 16 finishes on it. However, I'm not nearly as consistent on Blue Farm as I am Atraxa because Atraxa is considerably more durable. So even though it's slower and less consistent, once I'm set up, I can face first jam into a table full of interaction, face tank it, and still get there because Atraxa is just so much more durable than Blue Farm's main lines. That's why I think I'm more successful in Atraxa than I am Blue Farm, just because it's more durable when you get to the point you're presenting a win attempt.
I got you, man. No, that makes a lot of sense. What would you say is like your most consistent? Like, what are you normally winning as far as with the tracks? Are you still winning with like Thassa console, or do you end up using like the Teferi kitten line pretty often? Like, what ends up being like the most consistent like win con for you?
The easiest line in the deck to convert with is just a lone food chain
Oh, okay.
because yeah, so the deck is built to establish a board state.
Mhm.
And if you can resolve a food chain, you don't need the cast from exile creature. If you can resolve a food chain, 9 times out of 10, you've won.
Okay.
Because say I have 4 creatures,
Mhm.
average CMC is 3. I make roughly 12 mana just from my board. I can cast Atraxa with that, have some left over, and then once my Atraxa ETB is done, I can sack it and cast it again because she makes 8 mana. And you just keep going over and over and over again until you find a tutor or something that casts from exile.
Okay.
So that's usually my most consistent line, just because food chain by itself gets you a ton of mana and attracts it, turns that ton of mana into a ton of cards.
Nice, man. Okay. That's super cool. Yeah. That makes sense too, especially like grinding later into like that mid-range game,
Mhm.
or like the late game. That makes sense. Why did you pick? Was there a reason you picked Atraxa instead of doing just like Tim Thrasios?
That is the first question every single person asks me when they DM me about the deck.
Really?
Like literally every time. So, real answer, silly answer. Real answer first. I like how explosive Atraxa is. It
Mhm.
pivots very easily.
Okay.
So TNT, you get consistent card draw every single game because you have Tymna and Thrasios. It's awesome. You have Cradle synergy, and Tymna is Tymna. However, I have a lot of TNT players I know that complain about how difficult it is without like landing exactly survival to take your game plan from mid-range grind control deck to I'm winning now.
Mhm.
Atraxa has that built in the command zone. You can just decide, oh, I have a window, bam, I'm winning now. Here's my big 7/7. That's my main reason for playing Atraxa over TNT. Silly reason, I'm so sick of Tymna.
Fair. Now, that's one of the funniest things for me is like uh, when I got into cEDH, I don't know what happened. Like, I love the partner mechanic. I think it's super fascinating. I have this binder that I've collected, like the foil etch printings of like every
That's
partner,
sick.
and because I love the partner mechanic. I think it's cool. But I all of my casual decks are partner decks. Like, it'll be like some Rayhan Vial Smasher like Hydra deck, or it would be like some, Ardentana equipment, like big Sapperling, stuff like that. All of my casual decks are partner decks. And then when I got into cEDH, I was like, I'm not playing partners. And then I looked at the top 10 and I was like, that's a lot of partners. And
Hmm.
so immediately I was like, okay, I've got to play something. And I already had Zer together. So I was like, let's just take this and try it. But I have found that for some reason, I don't know what it is, man, but anytime I play something that's in the top 10, I feel like I almost struggle with it more than I do with decks that are not in the top 10. And I really don't know why that is, but I have a really, really hard time piloting what would be considered good decks. And I don't know. I've never figured that one out yet.
Yeah, I was the same way for a really, really long time. Like, it wasn't really until after I stopped playing Zur that I figured out how to play meta decks.
Hmm.
Because I mean, I don't know if it's the case for you. I've never really played against you,
Hmm.
but in my case, I was leaning on Brewer's advantage hard.
Hmm.
Like, if I could put together like a weird, silly line that people didn't know about, I would win because people didn't know what they were playing against.
Hmm.
Or I'd play really weird stuff like Kark Sakashima, and you put a Gataxian probe on the stack and you watch your opponents like, do I really force of will this?
Yeah. That's funny, dude. Yeah. Karksaka is funny. That I
Oh, I
built
love that deck.
There was the same thing. I threw together I say casual. It's not really
Mm,
like super casual, but it's a much slower Krark deck that just like
mm.
exiles everybody's deck and plays it. And then
Oh, that's cool.
I saw it was in CDH and I was like, hmm. And then immediately I was like, I took a 45-minute turn one time and I was like, I'll never do this again, ever. I'm much more like you said, just control, like play land, pass. I'll keep up some interaction. I'm looking for my silence effect the moment I see it, try to jam it, then I'm just like, okay, cool, win. Like
Mm.
I'm not the storm player. I'm like, okay, we're good.
Yeah, I can be like I'm all over the place. I love storm decks. I
Mhm.
just don't think they're very good right now because Rhystic Study is very good right now. And in a storm deck, you have to cast a lot of spells to win, which means your opponents are drawing lots and lots and lots and lots of cards.
Mhm.
So,
Is there anything else that you want to say about the deck, like in particular, or anything just about like your experience with the tournaments, things like that?
um, honestly, I think Atraxa is underplayed because it's played wrong.
Hmm.
Um, if there's one takeaway for people that like Atraxa coming out of this video, it's pretend your commander isn't there until you're absolutely ready to win. Because the deck has excellent colors and you have all the tools you need to sit and grind forever. You just also have a game ending tool in the command zone.
Mm.
So if you hold on to that until you can get multiple Atraxa triggers off of it in one turn, you will win lots of games.
Fair enough, man. Heck yeah. Well, guys, thank y'all for, staying, watching this video. Hopefully, at least it helped educate you because it definitely educated me. I don't play Atraxa very much, but at least hopefully you got something out of this. And other than that, go play some CDH.